Greetings nerdy list aficionados and welcome back to Top 10 Nerd. We're here for the boys, more boys facts, and today we're taking a look at The Butcher. Once more it's gonna have to be a melding of the TV series and the comic book facts, cause so many changes. Also, before we get started, hardcore spoilers for both, so if you want to go in blind not knowing anything for either, leave now. Cause we're gonna be talking about big twists from the end of the comic book series as well as season 1 of The Boys. You have been warned, and forewarned is forearmed. I'm Sasha and these are the top 10 scary The Boys Butcher facts you need to know. We've all accepted that grammar in these titles is dead at this point. Here at Top 10 Nerds, sometimes you just have to watch the grammar burn. Number 10. His original name. We're starting off light because it's gonna get real dark later. So the Butcher is the second name for the leader of the boys. When Garth Ennis was creating the character, he wanted a name that would reflect the brutality and savagery he had planned. And for that, at first, this character's name was going to be The Savage. This would actually have played better today than when the boys first began publication, funnily enough. Back in 2006, the term savage was not a slang word that was hip with the kids. Rather, it was either an outdated term or an actual slur against the indigenous. Ultimately, he went with The Butcher, and he gets more mileage out of it with puns too. You can do a lot with The Butcher. For example, The Butcher's backstory miniseries is called The Boys Butcher Baker Candlestick Maker, because nothing says nursery rhymes like gangland violence. Number 9. He's Garth Ennis' favorite character. When Garth Ennis was creating The Boys, he was seeking to outdo himself in terms of sexuality, violence, and just his general disdain for superheroes. In his own words, to out-preacher Preacher. At that point, his most controversial work, which also managed to get adapted. In that process, he set about creating his brutal, calculating protagonist, the Butcher, and he quickly became his favorite character. Now he's created more characters since, so one has to wonder if this still stands. One's opinions do tend to change over time. However, even if he's not the favorite anymore, he obviously still has a special place in Ennis' heart, and he certainly is a memorable character. Few who have read The Boys will be forgetting The Butcher anytime soon. Number 8. Stereotypical motivations. It's spoiler time. So one of the changes made to the story is surrounding the Butcher's motivations and the genesis of his true hatred of the Homelander in particular. These were originally in the comic that his wife was raped by a soup he deduces was the Homelander and impregnated. She was then killed by the super baby growing in her womb, which he then had to beat to death with a lampshade. However, this backstory is changed for the series in a very clever way that moves away from the tired rape revenge motivation for the male character trope, while still retaining the core elements of the story. In the comics, this was what caused the Butcher's increased level of brutality towards soups, making sure situations that didn't have to end in lethal violence did. However, this is also a weaker motivation because of the Homelander twist at the end of the comic that involves clones, and means that the Butcher was after the wrong person, which kinda takes some of the pizzazz out of it all. Number 7. His dog, Terror. This is on here cause, well, this joke is a lot of a lot. So the Butcher has a dog named Terror that he is taught to fornicate with anything he tells it to on command. He can do it on command. Now this raises a lot of questions. How did he train it to do this? Why? The whole dog assault. Poor Terror, just trying to live a cute dog life, next thing you know you're banging on command. I just have questions. I wonder about things like this. The Terror so far has not made it into the Amazon Prime adaptation, to the sadness of comic book fans. He could show up later, he has been referenced. However, the changes being made to the series are quite intriguing and makes it exciting to know that you're not exactly sure what happens next. For some people hate it. Number 6. He will kill children. So the Butcher is very much unhinged and has an attitude that the only good super is a dead one, regardless of their age. He's just there to escalate the situation. This is exemplified when the boys go up against Super Duper, a very low-tier superpowered team who are young, low-powered, and in some cases mentally challenged. They actually spend most of their time as support personnel for a disabled group home. The fact that they're not awful confuses and kind of enrages the Butcher. He was ready to kill one of them because they accidentally insulted him because they had Tourette's. It's only Huey's intervention and protest that they're just kids that keeps him from full-on going at them. Number 5. He almost killed his dad. So when we finally get a look at the Butcher's backstory, we see that it is as harsh as one would expect. Also, just fun fact, in the comics he's described as sounding like Michael Caine. The Butcher came from an abusive home and almost murdered his father, but ended up being dissuaded by his brother, whom he lied about having, or rather, not having. Up until he met his wife, he was just a ball of rage and violence, with only her being able to calm the storm within. But that all ends when she is murdered by her super baby. Okay, so I have questions. How far along was the super baby? Or is the butcher just really inattentive? Oh, nice sweatshirts, honey. Number 4. The Seven are afraid of him. When Huey joins the team in the comics, the boys and the Seven are at a standstill, kind of trucious thing. However, this truce is one the butcher is set on breaking. The truce initially was due to an escalation of violence that led to the murder of a former member of the boys' grandchildren and the death of the lamplighter, who was then reanimated but at the intelligence level of a zombie. This was so the public could see him and believe that heroes can't die. But the truth is the Seven keep him chained up in the basement in his own filth. Anyways, back to the butcher. The levels to which he will go actually disturb the Seven, particularly the Homelander, who can tell that the butcher hates him. He can sense this through his heart rate, etc., but he doesn't know why. What freaks all of the Seven out is that he can't be bought, he's always watching them, and that he can kill them. When you have the most powerful beings on their toes, that says something. Number 3. He's manipulative. Now, The Boys is a series without heroes, but some have come to feel that The Boys' true villain is the Butcher, and this is because of how he manipulates all events and those around him, including his allies. As the series unfolds, it slowly becomes clear that what the Butcher has with the boys isn't friendship or camaraderie, but instead is a means to an end, and he is constantly playing them off their weaknesses to keep them distracted from what he is doing. Examples of this include things like telling Huey he always wanted a little brother despite already having one, or putting him in situations where he has to use lethal force to cause him moral dilemmas so that he won't be able to observe and think, things that Huey is great at. He's also lied about his kills and his actual motivations, which we'll get to in a bit. He's not to be trusted, and those in the know don't, but even they aren't prepared for the true climax of events that actually didn't have as much to do with the Homelander as everyone had been led to believe. This leads us directly into number 2. He killed the boys. Very few people make it out of this comic series unscathed, and the boys are no exception. No character shields for anybody. When it comes to the Butcher's true plans, he knows that the other members of his team will try and stop him, so he needs to get them out of the way. First, we see the murder of allies from earlier issues, and finally the elimination of the boys themselves, except for Huey. It's a sad realization that the reader comes to, and for some it completely ruins the story. There are lots of readers who enjoyed the story up until this point, where they felt that it was just a little bit of overkill. The Butcher even ultimately ended up manipulating Huey into killing him. Yeah, Butcher is pretty unlikable in the comic series. The TV series is working on that. Actually, they're doing a lot of humanizing there for everybody. And number 1. The biggest spoiler of them all, the betrayal. The Butcher has another plan, aside from misplaced vengeance against the Homelander. His plan is really to destroy all soups by using the unstable formulation of Compound V, and thus it is revealed that he didn't kill the scientist who created it, and instead was working with him to destabilize it and destroy all soups. So again, this is a mileage varies thing. For some people, while the series is super irreverent towards, well, supers, it's another thing to see them brutally annihilated. People have limits. The Butcher is cold and sadistic, but some feel this action undermines the series, while others feel it encompasses it beautifully. In the show, we'll probably see something different, or at least watch it unfold differently. I'm definitely excited. So those were some more facts about the boys. Well, one of the boys. A boy. Thanks so much for watching Top 10 Nerd. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. We've got so many more videos coming your way, so hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid. I'm Sasha, and we'll see you again soon. Bye bye.